Well, welcome to the podcast today, where we explore frontiers of space technology and its real impact. Today's guest is Joe Luttrell, founder of Quub, a company revolutionizing environmental monitoring with small, cost-effective satellites that deliver real-time data on issues like water contamination and crop health. Joe's extensive experience spans coordinating payloads for major platforms such as SpaceX, Falcon 9, Blue Origin's New Shepard, and Rocket Lab's Electron, as well as founding a suborbital rocket company and developing educational software. At Quub, he leads a mission to harness edge computing in orbit, ensuring that critical alerts reach first responders and government agencies quickly and efficiently. He's a true space enthusiast with a passion for high power rocketry and emerging tech. Joe brings a unique perspective of innovation, adaptability, and the future of satellite data collection. Sorry. Join us as we delve into this journey and this transformative potential of real-time environmental insights from space. Welcome, Joe. Thank you for joining
Thank you,
us today.
Kevin. It's a pleasure to be
Um,
here. Thank you.
I was enthralled with your website and doing some studying on what you guys are doing. It's really impressive. How does a guy come about getting into this? Because that's what my first question was. Holy
Uh, that's a
smokes.
that's a very good question. I am a space nut first and foremost. I was there for the Apollo 11 landing. My dad had bought us a 25-inch color TV just so we could watch that. All right, so I remember that event very clearly. But I really was cemented in my desire for working in space in 1975 with the Apollo Soyuz test mission. And I got to meet Tom Stafford. That was just an amazing
Oh, wow.
moment in time.
Yeah.
Just if Soviet Union and the United States could get together on orbit and work together, I knew that there was something bigger to space than than what we had thought of as the initial space race. I'm like, we can do this in a
Mhm.
much bigger way. Of course, then I had to get out of space for a little bit. I wanted to go to college for it, but instead I ended up going down a path where I learned construction. I learned software engineering, and I wrote a lot. I wrote a lot of video games and various edutainment titles back in the day. I shifted to system administration. We started Beyond Earth Enterprises to compete on the suborbital market, which never really materialized as well as the investors thought we were just absolutely nuts. It was hard to get any kind of money to back that. So we mothballed that, went and did some other things, the water quality stuff. Um, I traveled 8 states across the Northeast. I've seen the conditions of our water and wastewater facilities, and they're degrading. And it's like, how do we monitor this in a better way? Because I worked on the equipment that monitored all this stuff. It's great, but it's prone to error. How do we keep that from happening? I'm like, well, why don't you mix space with the water stuff? And away I went. I was doing some work with a group called Teachers in Space and started coordinating some payload stuff for them, designed their CubeSat frame, and just slowly worked into it. And then it's like, okay, I think I can do this. I really do. Uh, Started building a satellite. I probably know 1,000 ways how not to build a satellite, but we approached it with a different mindset in that we wanted something that was very inexpensive, very quick to build, and could get just enough data to the people who needed it. We're not going for high accuracy or high resolution. Right? That's not our game. Our game is to get information to people quickly. And when you think about that, from the water side, if you have a raw sewage spill into a river and your water treatment facility is downstream from that, usually in other towns, they'd want to know as quick as possible that the water is contaminated. And that's where we got started. And then we realized you could use this for firefighting. You can monitor wildfires very quickly with this. Anything that has what we call an anomaly, we can program the AI on board the satellites to look for that anomaly and then send that data down and get it to us. That's how we got started. It's like, I wanted to do that. It's like, now how do I make it happen?
Well, from a product offering, it's like it's a niche. I mean, I'm not sure if there's quite a bit of competition. Is there? Am I looking at it outside? I mean, explain. Can you explain that?
Yeah, there's right now there doesn't appear to be a lot of competition, but the reality is people are trying to get into this. We have satellites that are being launched specifically for wildfire detection, and these are multi-million-dollar satellites. It's like that's great, but you're limited because of the cost of those satellites into doing just you can't see everywhere with any meaningful amount of time when you've got two or three satellites and it takes hours or days to get back. Right? That's not giving you data. What we looked at was if you could build them inexpensively, launch them in mass, have a constellation that works together, then you can get the information rapidly. So our data isn't here's a picture. Our data is that information through time. So we have a
Yeah.
temporal line. And
Yeah.
in that regard, we have just a few competitors. There are very few people working in this type of environment, and for good reason. It's an unexplored market. And it's not like you're going to the government saying, "Hey, I got all this imagery. Are you interested?" That's not how this play is. This play is for people who normally couldn't use satellite information.
So
That's our niche.
So how do you go about getting a new customer then? Like, what's the process of customer track down and conversation? And
We,
because I'm
we,
sure obviously some government agencies, but I'm sure there's some private entities and that are interested as well as NGOs or whatever.
yeah, yeah, there are quite a few organizations that are interested. We do have a long list of MOUs and LOIs as we build out our network. The thing is that we don't use what you would call traditional internet marketing. Our customer is on the ground. They're a boots on the ground kind of person. All right. Having been, if anybody says water quality engineer, it's kind of like a slang for, I've walked around in sewers, is my perspective. Like, these people don't respond to internet ads. They don't respond to people coming to the door. You have to meet them at places like trade shows and through events that are particular to their niche. So like we go to agricultural shows because farmers are who we're interested in talking to. We go to water trade shows because people who are discovering or discussing water and its problems are there. The idea is you set up a booth, you talk to these people, and by word of mouth, one at a time. It's a slower build for creating customers, but it's also a more dedicated line.
Is there something, the market is changing. We've got a lot of technology being thrown at it. Like you said, and then you've got more and more people in the space race. Is there anything that's been frustrating? Is something that's run you backwards, or you've had the challenges of 2025, right? I mean, could
Yeah,
be taxes, could be, who knows?
yep,
AI is a big thing today.
yep.
So,
And we've been using machine learning for a long time. Our satellites were built with that in mind. So we feel like the world's catching up to us, and it's kind of scary, but it's a good thing. Our biggest challenge right
interesting.
now, I would say, are raising capital and tariffs, and those two are actually very much linked. Because we have this current situation where I don't know how much my parts are going to cost, it makes getting investment a little more challenging. And so, yeah, I would say right now, the entire economic environment around the tariffs is causing us a lot of grief. It's actually having the reverse effect from what I think they were intending. Because as a small business, we have a facility here in the US. We also have an operation in the UK. And right now, well, do I do all the manufacture in the UK instead of the United States because it's a more stable environment as far as how much my parts are going to cost? My labor is going to cost a certain amount. There's no uncertainty there. So that's the type of fight I'm having right now. It's like there's so much uncertainty as to what's the right move, and that not only cripples us, but it also cripples investment. And investors want to see more mature companies now than what they were used to. Startups are very difficult to fund in this environment. I wish it was different, but that's the reality I'm facing right now. Is raising funds is exceedingly difficult because of an uncertain market.
Hmm. Interesting. So it's hard to do this, but where would you like to see yourself in the next 12 to 18 months? What would you like to see have happened and so on and so forth? Obviously, we calmed down on the tariffs, Mr. Trump, but um,
Yep. Yeah, as things are stabilizing, it is getting better. 2 months ago, I was like, okay, can I even run this company now? We did secure a very nice contract with the water company in the UK. We received a
yeah,
grant for developing our technology to help them in a specific area. And that has been like the lifeline that's keeping us going right now. Uh, where I see ourselves in 18 months, we should probably have a dozen satellites on orbit by that time, collecting data. We're definitely going to have our customers, those LOIs and MOUs will engage. I don't expect all of them. Maybe a third of them will actually sign on, but that's a start. And then we use those funds to launch the next set, and then that it can just slowly build it out. Once we reach 200 satellites, that's it. We're just in the replacement business. But yeah, that's where I see ourselves in 18 months. Our factory is going to be running nearly full tilt. We're going to have multiple satellites on orbit. We're going to have satellites stacked and ready to go. And we're going to have enough customers to support the entire operation.
that is wild. That what I noticed on your videos, it looked like it was a very manual labor to put them together, and you've got this now going into um, the format of being able to be done in a factory.
Yep. Right now, we have what's called boutique manufacturing. So you can't manufacture these quickly, but they were designed to be manufactured quickly. Everything is well, it's modules that are designed to work almost like Legos. Nick, who designed our factory line, he has this wonderful plan. It looks great, but if it works the way as intended, I can teach an eighth grader how to build these satellites in an afternoon. That's what we want to get to. They're simple, low cost. They snap. I could actually take one of the satellites to you, show you the basic components, and you can have it assembled in a couple of hours. That's the objective that we're after. And we designed the satellite, even though it's a manual process now, that's going to be completely automated rather rapidly.
And this may not be any of my business or part of the podcast, but how does I'm trying to figure out how the revenue works in modeling this from a pricing standpoint, projects. Obviously, if somebody's making an investment into the satellite to give them information, they're somewhat of a part owner, I would guess, in that satellite. But how do you charge? How do you charge? I mean, there's probably multiple ways, but
Yeah.
this is a business call, by the way, so
Yeah.
we're trying to learn.
Yep. And this is again where we deviate from a lot of the other satellite companies. I mean, typically, you buy it by the square kilometer. So you set up an account with, say, Planet, and then you can request data. And as the satellite passes overhead, they'll snap an image and then they'll send that to you. And you get charged for it. Ours is a little more tailored to the customer. Since our satellites are small, we don't want them constantly running as far as taking pictures. But at least initially, the idea is that as we're approaching a customer area, we'll take those images, but we're taking them every 15 minutes. So they're not paying for an image, they're paying for a service. And that service is we collect all of this data, we give you an analysis and put that in front of you. So you don't need to do the analysis. You don't have to figure out what's going on. You tell us what it is you're after, we build the model, and then that model provides you with your data, which you can turn into the information that you need. So
So
it's very
the
different.
data is computed with you.
Right,
It's not for them to interpret that you guys are taking the data, crunching it, and giving them the report. Very
right.
nice. Interesting.
Because, well, I mean, I've been like in a water treatment facility is a good example. All right, so this is going to turn it into active drinking water. I need to know what's going on the river. I need alerts. I don't care about the imagery. All right. I'm not interested in imagery. I'm interested in actionable items. And so that's what we're selling. We're selling that peace of mind that if something happens, we can alert you and save you, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars because the equipment was protected. So our market is really, we are space as a service in the literal sense. We collect the information, the data from our satellites. I want to be very careful how I say data and information. So we grab the data, we turn it into information that then becomes your data that you can use. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist or a data analyst to do this. That's already done for you. Now that opens up an entire market that has never thought about using satellite imagery before. And that's the market we're going after.
Well, hence we're a data company, not a space company. Interesting.
Precisely.
Interesting. But you are building literally spaceships, little ones, but
Yep. And we were pretty much forced into that because the current cost of manufacturing satellites is just ridiculous. Um, I know you want to, when you're building a satellite, it's kind of like building a Ferrari to drive to the grocery store. You don't do that. You just need an economical car. So instead of being the Ferrari, we are the Ford. I'm going to use an old car design, but like we're not a Mustang, we're not a supercar. We're an SUV. We're a simple, basic car that you can buy, an old sedan, like a Ford Tempo kind of thing. We provide information that you need, but we're not building Ferraris to do it. There are
you're a
different ways to
Toyota
do this.
Corolla.
We're
Yeah.
Toyota Corolla. We're a basic car. We want to be good, reliable.
Reliable, gets around, right?
Mhm. But it's not like each of these are built individually. A lot of satellites, even though they come off of assembly lines, they still have to be individually tailored and tweaked because of the complexity they have. Ours aren't that complex. They're very simple. And it looks complicated, but from the normal satellite standpoint, these are very simple machines. And that's the idea. Keep it simple.
Well, I would imagine that, because it's space, um, the manufacturers are going to tend to over-engineer and overproduce and over-redundant.
Yeah, and like one of the things is radiation shielding, right? So you want to have radiation shielding. The more these microprocessors, the smaller they get, the easier it is for a gamma ray to knock you out. Okay, well, you got two ways you can do this. You can either go with more radiation shielding, which is heavy and expensive, or you can triple your computer capacity on board and separate those computers from each other so that any two have to agree. All of your memory at any 2 points have to agree. So as long as it's in a triple redundancy, you get data and you get accurate data. The odds of all the data being corrupted in one shot is very low. And that's how we do it. It's like our fail safe is we put redundancy into the satellite because that is very, very cheap to do. I shouldn't use that word. It's very inexpensive to do. And yeah, so work the problem in a different way. Go back to first principles. I know most people overuse that, but what does a satellite need to do? And then hire people who are really, really smart. I've got some very smart people who take that concept and then run with it. And then I
Yeah.
only have to worry about marketing and showing up at conventions and talking, and doing the day-to-day CEO kind of stuff instead of building stuff,
Yeah.
which I do miss.
So
I
in
do miss.
essence, you're the chief cook and bottle washer along with top sales guy.
Yep. Although I'm being replaced as far as the sales guy goes. We're reaching the point where Quub is becoming a larger organization. And because of that, we need to be focused on what is our marketing strategy. Our go-to-market strategy is simple. We need people to understand that market, understand, space as a service, data as a service, and put that together. So yeah, we're actually looking for an individual to take over that role so that I
Well,
can be freed up to, you know,
we could talk
do
after
that.
the podcast. I might have some ideas for you. So
Okay. Thank
we
you.
are coming down to the end of it. It is really interesting Like I said, we only had 40 minutes, and I was on a little early. Uh, if uh, if you had, I don't want to end on a negative note, so I want to end on a positive note. Um, you got any great opportunities that potentially might hit? I know you just hit the one in England, which is congratulations, by the way. I think that's awesome. Um, you
Yep,
thinking that
thank you.
potentially there's another one that?
We actually have several that are already in the works.
Oh, good.
Um, and one of the things that we've also decided to do with our satellites is because they're so easy to build and they are modular, is that we're white boxing. We have a contract that we're working on now where we will build satellites for somebody else. Are they a competitor? Probably. Does that matter? No, not really, because there's enough variation in the markets that I don't think we'd have a problem. And I actually invite some competition because if you're the lone wolf out there, you look like you're crazy. The second you have two or three other companies aiming for the same spot, now you're a business. And that's what I really want to see. I want to see more companies striving to get into these markets. They're hard sells. This isn't going to the government saying, "Hey, I got all this imagery, want it."
Yeah.
It's,
Uh,
"Hey, um, Mister Fire Marshal, what if we could help you respond quicker?" Okay, well, show me. And then you've got to. It's a hard sell, but it's one that pays dividends down the road.
yeah.